All right, a chance to look at the tape just from the rebounding perspective.
Yeah.
What you see and what needs to get corrected.
Yeah, for us, Zach is someone who's averaged around 5.5, 6 offensive rebounds a game. He only had 2 in the game, and we got to do a better job of just having a nose for the basketball. And then at the other end, in the second half, there wasn't a lot of rebounds for us to have from a defensive standpoint, but there sure was from an offensive standpoint. So that's when you only have 3 and you've missed a lot of shots. That's pretty uncommon. So you got to give Maryland a lot of credit for that. And just sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way, but most of the time it's, you got to have a nose for the ball and the effort, and we've had that all year, and we did it in this game. So got to do a better job and respond to that and get on the glass and try to steal some possessions.
Last 2 games, Northwestern and Maryland have scored a lot of points in the paint against you, and
yes.
It's not in the traditional way where they have a big guy.
Right.
Is that just more of their guards getting inside?
Yeah.
And what needs to happen from your standpoint?
Our dribble containment, I thought in the first half against Maryland was pretty good. We had a couple switches that we wanted to get to with some ball screen action that we messed up early that we fixed, and then they really just ISO'd us and got some matchups that they liked, and were able just to drive the ball and get the ball. Seemed like it was 10 feet from the basket in the middle of the paint a lot, off of drives, off of cuts, or whatever that might be. And that's the whole thing. You got to keep the ball out of the middle of the court if that's your influence and that's your kind of style. If some people don't do that, we do that. So trying to level the ball up and just keep it in front of you. In basketball, you want people to get out of rhythm, but you also want them to score over you. But you don't want them to have to score over you at 8 to 10 feet. You want that at 16 to 18 feet. Kind of those tough 2s you hear us talking about. They were 2s, but they weren't tough 2s. And give them credit. They really worked to get the basketball there, and we just got to do a better job collectively of keeping it out of the paint.
Is that a Maryland-specific thing, or is it something you expect to see from teams trying to keep Edey away from the ball?
No, I think it's the strength of their team in terms of just driving the basketball. Akeem Hart, Jameer Young, Boo Booey, especially. He gets into more ball screen stuff, but you saw him especially against Indiana. They just ISO'd Indiana and drove the ball. And then when they would bring a guy up to set a ball screen, it would bring that extra defender. And sometimes that's good, and sometimes that's exactly what it is, an extra defender, so you don't want that. So that's why you see people clear out a lot of times and drive. But if the other team has the ability to do that, that's always been a concern the whole season for us. We got to do a good job as a team collectively and really help and be in those gaps. And so guys are starting around on an island all by themselves. That overall team awareness has to be better.
Just having the ability to kind of look at some of those things, in terms of keeping the ball in front of you, not letting players, get that deep penetration on drives. Right. How much does that help you just going into Ohio State where, they have players that like to get into the mid-range and kind of score in that way? Yeah,
the matchups, Sensabaugh, Suing, Bruce Thornton, likely, but, those guys can drive the basketball and do some of the same things. Obviously, Sensabaugh's a great scorer. Suing has been very successful against us. Bruce Thornton, we recruited, who's a very, very good player. So, just collectively trying to be with those guys and understand what they're trying to do in their actions. But having that awareness as a team is important. The other thing that comes is if you're not scoring at the other end, they're building a lot of confidence. They're scoring, you're not, and that just keeps happening. They had a 30-4 run against us, at Maryland. And so now things can snowball in the right direction, but things can also snowball in the wrong direction. So you got to help yourself defensively by that now, scoring the ball, making some shots. So now they're not, ISOing you, getting something in transition, getting something on the glass. When they're getting everything from you and you can't score, it's going to be a long night. So hopefully we can improve both ends of the court by helping each other, getting stops defensively so we can get out and run, but also scoring the ball so we can set our defense.
Since the last time you guys have played, you lost 12 of their last 13. Just how different maybe is this team because of their recent struggles?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Since the last time they played you guys, they've lost 12 of their last 13. How do you make sure that they don't really have a statement win and bounce back against you?
That's a great point because they have really good pieces and they have really good players. And then sometimes you just get into a bad rut. And I've been there in this league, and it's just hard because you're looking and you're like, where's your next win coming from? And then you get into close games and things don't go your way. Just, the breaks sometimes are tough. And I always talk about it. We've won this league 3 times, but I've also been last twice. It's not something, the last part's not something to put on your Facebook page. But, it's the ups and downs of it. It's a really, really hard thing. but you have to understand they have really good players and they have a really good coach, and they're going to come out fighting, and so we have to be ready. They've played in a lot of close games that haven't went their way. Obviously they have had a couple that's gotten away from them, so just having a focus. And you would think no matter who you would play after us losing 3 out of 4 that we would be on edge also, and try to handle adversity in a positive way and get a win.
You had Trey and Zach on the floor toward the end of the Maryland game. Were you just trying to get through the game, or are you searching for something there?
No, you're kind of searching for some things. Caleb first was sick. He didn't practice yesterday for us, so he was sick before the game. Just been under the weather lately, and so just trying to find that matchup. Trey's done a really good job for us, but yet Zach's played so well, it's limited his minutes. But a lot of times your minutes get limited because you're not very productive. But Trey's done a really good job for us. His minutes are limited just because Zach's been so productive.
We talked a lot this week about officiating.
Yeah.
And then 15 minutes before Maryland gets a foul.
Right.
And then I think it's fair to say Mason's technical was a little bit frustration overall with the ref. What is the conversation with your team this weekend?
Well, first of all, Mason plays extremely hard, and he competes out there. He can't let his emotions get the best of him. It was a tough whistle on that play, and it wasn't a foul. I don't care if it's a foul or not, you can't react that way, and he understands that, so it's a hard lesson to learn. It was a big momentum swing in the game, and so, but, I'll take somebody like Mason Gillis every day of the week. The way he competes and the way he plays hard there. The thing that I told our guys is if we play better, you would diminish some things that have happened. You see when it's been really hard for us from an official standpoint, when you go back and watch the tape, we'll play better, do our part, coach better, do my part, you know what I mean? Put ourselves in better positions and play better and execute better. So now you take them out of the game. They're not as much of a factor. When you're doing that and you're not playing well and it's sluggish and it's just a kind of a football game. You got to be mentally and physically tough, but you got to make your free throws. You got to make some open shots. You got to execute defensively. You got to get loose balls. Now we're putting the focus on things that you can control. The other part you can't control. And I don't try to have knee-jerk reactions after games until I watch the tape. So if I speak on something of that regard, it's because I have factual information from watching. I try to take off my black and gold glasses and just be rational and just watch things. And because I want to help our players and I want to help ourselves. And so I know Zach gets into a lot of really, really tough things. And I think he's probably the hardest guy to referee in the country, to their defense. He probably is. And but we got to play through it, and we got to be better. But I know that's been my message to them. I need to coach better, and you guys need to play better. And then I think we'll help the cause in terms of the refereeing.
Are teams doing something with Fletcher as far as maybe getting him off his spot or sticking with him longer as he kind of fights through the shooting
Yeah,
slump
he had a couple tough ones the other day where he drew some fouls and didn't get the calls, and I think that gets him frustrated. And that's what he's got to learn to do. He's just got to learn to fight through that. You see the guys that get frustrated are the highly competitive guys. So he's a very competitive guy, and so once again, I'd rather take that. I'd rather take the highly competitive guy like Fletcher Lawyer and try to wind him down a little bit and say, hey man, you got to build up some good faith here. And even if you're getting some tough calls, don't argue as much, don't ref as much. Be competitive, channel that frustrations in your play. But I'm confident in him. He's a guy that can make plays, he can make shots, and I just think we got a lot of makes coming our way.
You spoke after Maryland. This team has already gone through shooting struggles, in the non-conference, and you guys really broke out of that at Ohio State. When you kind of look at that game, does this game coming up kind of present an opportunity for guys to kind of get out of that slump a little bit, kind of get going? As you kind of get to the later
The thing that we had in non-conference was I thought it was good when we struggled shooting because we defended so well. And so, but we weren't turning it over. So while we struggled before the Maryland game and those 3 games before, you had 16, 17, and 16 turnovers. We had 7 turnovers against Penn State. We have 7 turnovers against Maryland that sandwiched those 2 games. So we've proven we can take care of the ball. But if you don't take care of the ball and you struggle shooting, that's a bad recipe. That's going to be really hard to beat a quality opponent if you're going to have 17 turnovers and you struggle from the 3-point line. That's too much against quality teams. So you got to do both, really. You got to shoot well and you got to take care of the basketball. But you can't have both going against you, and that's what we've had in those 3 games.
Last time out against Ohio State, it came down to that Fletcher Lawyer game winner. What kind of takeaways do you have just from that first time around matchup?
Yeah, they had control of the game in the first half. The way we played in the last 5 minutes of the first half really helped us. Started a different lineup. In the start of the second half, I thought the guys that started responded, and I thought the guys that came off the bench responded. And that's what you want as a coach. When somebody goes into a lineup, don't look at it as a demotion. Look at it as kind of a different avenue, to play well right there. And I thought they did that. Fletch didn't start the second half. David did. David gave us good minutes, and then Fletch came in and played really well. So both of those guys responded. I think I started Mason instead of Caleb to start the second half, if I'm not mistaken. So, but I thought everybody responded, and we hung in there. Like being on the road, we hung in there, and then we got it to the end, and we were able to make a play. And obviously Zach made a good pass. Fletch knocked it down, and then at the end, I think we got a good stop. Our guys were very aware, and they actually